And now, from Louisville, Kentucky, the horse capital of the world and sports junkies' finest, giving you wagering advice and sports analysis. It's On the Switch with your host, Gino G.
Welcome back to On the Switch Show. I'm your host, Gino G. I'm with my boy Travis on the back end, holding it down. We are excited today to talk about a couple of new things that are coming up. The second major golf tournament, the U.S. Open from Shinnecock Hills in Southampton, New York. We're also talking about the World Cup, 2018 FIFA World Cup. Also with that, congratulations to the United States of America, Canada, and Mexico, who will all co-host the 2026 World Cup, which is really exciting for Americans. Also, Justify, winning the Belmont Stakes, winning the Triple Crown. We'll touch base on that, and maybe perhaps a little bit of controversy when it comes to the Belmont Stakes. So we'll touch base on that. But first, let's get to a little bit of golf. U.S. Open, Shinnecock Hills, as I said, from Southampton, New York, supposed to be clear Thursday through Sunday. A little bit of weather problems, a little bit of rain, fog. Talking about yesterday, that being Wednesday. But this morning, first to tee off, I love Brandt Snedeker. Okay, tees off 750 this morning. This is a guy from Georgia who I think his game just sets up super well here at the U.S. Open. He's going to be 100-1, and I think really, to be honest with you, a guy that everybody should include when it comes to DraftKings, fantasy golf. If you play any of those, you're playing the Millie Maker, anything like that, Brandt Snedeker should be in your lineup. Secondly, I think the best player right now, although DJ Dustin Johnson played so well last week, holding out from the 18th fairway to cap a win, I think the best player right now is Justin Rose. Justin Rose, so many top 10s in a row, so many top 5s, has previously won the U.S. Open, is really one of the best players in the world right now, as I said. That's Justin Rose. He'll be my second choice. Also, I don't think you can take away last year's winner, Brooks Koepka. Koepka, since coming back from injury, 3 top 10s, 2 top 5s, hasn't had a win yet, but I think he's rounding right into form. He mentioned in his interview yesterday that this course sets up almost identical to what he played last year. So I would expect him to be really, really well placed in here as well. Also, and lastly, Henrik Stenson. Henrik Stenson could win this by 8 shots. And here's why. His 3-wood off the tee is remarkable. Okay? You won't see a whole lot of drivers on this course. He will hit so many 3-woods off the tee, and he hits it so straight and so far. It is absolutely remarkable. Then, of course, once you take it off the tee, if you put him in the fairway, he's hitting greens at almost 82%. 82% over the last 6 seasons. This is not just this season. Over the last 6 seasons, 82% greens and regulations from the fairway. Henrik Stenson, a guy that I think not on the cheaper end, but not necessarily on the expensive end either. He's 25-1 to win, and I think is a guy that really, as from a better standpoint, you want to put $20 on him, $30, something like that at 25-1. Yes, please. Also, and lastly, comes to U.S. Open. If you want somebody maybe that's a little bit of a stretch, I would look at Tommy Fleetwood. Tommy Fleetwood will by far have the best hair of anybody in this tournament. I'm sorry, I'm giggling because it's so funny. You look at a picture of Tommy Fleetwood and you're like, bro, cut your hair. I mean, like, what is this? You know, I got the flocks going and everything. But I think Tommy Fleetwood, he's also well placed in here, playing well. Seems to be one of those guys that kind of sneaks up on the leaderboard when it comes to majors. So maybe he can pop off here and win one. Next, the World Cup, FIFA World Cup. This is one of my favorite times of the year when it comes to Olympics, World Cup, these sorts of things. What's disappointing is the fact the United States is just not going to be in Russia. Disappointing, obviously. But I still think there are tons, as far as from a betting standpoint, there are tons of things and tons of teams that have lots of value when it comes to this World Cup. Now, I posted on Twitter yesterday selections for the World Cup as when it came to group play, and then I gave you my championship. I will also post periodically, so please stay with my Twitter at DeVilleKY32. You will also need to stay at On The Switch 1 on Twitter as well, as we'll be posting some selections on there. So please stay with us, but I'll go over all of my group winners and the teams that I believe will make it through as the second place team in each group, and then I'll give you my championship game. In Group A, I do think it's Uruguay. Uruguay is the team to beat in here. The host nation is Russia, and they're also in this group, who I think will finish second. But Uruguay should sweep through Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Russia. They should win every single game, receive 9 points, and get the number 1 seed in Group A. Group B is maybe one of the most interesting groups, just from the standpoint that you have two powerhouses, Spain and Portugal. After that, there's nobody else. So it's going to be Spain and Portugal. It's whether or not Spain, who just fired their coach on Tuesday, which is an interesting note. They have the most talent, probably, or most likely one of the youngest teams, but one of the most talented teams. They just fired their coach, so that's something to take note of. But also Portugal. If it's not Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo is the best player in the world. Okay? And when you have the best player in the world, just like LeBron James, okay, when you have the best player in the world, you just make things happen. This is how it is. So Spain and Portugal for me, I do have Spain winning the group, Portugal in second, but both of those teams should get through Group B, no problems whatsoever. Group C, here's where I have an issue. France just played the United States of America in a friendly, tied 1-1. When you watch the way the French played, you wonder what kind of success they can have at the World Cup. USA got in behind quite easily. They weren't very, what I would call, quote unquote, aggressive offensively. It just seemed very lackluster. Now, I don't know how much of that team is going to be on the World Cup team, but from what I understand or from what I have read, most of the World Cup team was on that team and played. So it makes you wonder, it's kind of a leery favorite at minus 130 if you're going to take France to win this group. But they are up against a fairly weak group overall. I do have France winning the group, but I do like Denmark a lot, and Denmark could also give France a run for their money when it comes to the top end of the group. In Group D, though, this is where I have my first surprise. My first surprise coming, I have Croatia winning Group D over Argentina. We've mentioned Lionel Messi, but I think Croatia, whether it's offensively, defensively, they'll have the best goalie in that group as well. I think Croatia can really make a ton of noise in this group and a ton of noise in this tournament. I will have them on top of Group D. Argentina will get through as the second place team. In Group E, I think it's pretty straightforward, pretty simple here in Group E. Brazil will win Group E. I think Serbia will finish second. And I think the same will go for Group F as well. Germany will go undefeated. Germany will be one of the top teams, although old or older, let's say. I don't want to say old, but older. They are the most experienced. They did win the last World Cup. So I think this team is well placed in here. I think Mexico will get through as that second place team. El Tri. They have enough firepower, to be honest with you, to do a lot of damage in this tournament. The problem is when they get to the knockout stage, they just throw a dud. I mean, it's almost like the United States, right? They fight and they do everything they possibly can to get out of the group stage. Now they're in the knockout round and they just don't show up. So this is a team that if they get it all together, Chicharito, I tell you what, Mexico is a team to look out for. And if you want to play a super long shot, and we'll get to this in here in a little bit, Mexico 100-1 to win the World Cup. They're 100-1 to win the World Cup. Now, a lot of things would have to go in their favor, but a lot of weird things happen in these situations. 100-1 for a team with this much talent, something that maybe you want to look at. In Group G has my favorite team, and I hate foreshadowing, but this is the team that I have to win it all, and that's Belgium. Belgium is young, they're good, they're fast, they're big, they're strong, and in my opinion, they have the absolute best goalie in the entire tournament, okay? I believe Belgium could get out of the group stage not giving up a goal, okay? Now, what's interesting is the way the bracket sets up, Belgium will have to play, I want to say it's the loser of Group H, which is either like Poland, Colombia, Japan, or Nigeria. And it's one of those things, you play any of those teams, maybe besides Colombia, who I think could, again, make a bunch of noise in this tournament. You'll play a last 8 game against Brazil. Belgium-Brazil, Final 8, could be one of the best games that anybody's ever seen in a long, long time. I like Belgium a lot. They're my team to win it all. They're 12-1, according to Bovada yesterday. I think you can still sneak in there and probably get them at 10, 11, 12-1. Belgium is my team to beat. Obviously, like I said, in the World Cup, but in Group G, they'll definitely finish number 1. Number 2 is pretty clear as well, and that's going to be England. There's nobody else in this group whatsoever. Although England just completely throws duds out there, there's no reason whatsoever. I mean, literally, this would be a bigger catastrophe than the last World Cup. If England does not get past this group, they really should just retire. They should never be allowed in another World Cup. I mean, it's that easy. So Belgium and England for me. Group H, by far the most open group of them all. Poland, Colombia, Japan, and Nigeria. What's interesting about this is Poland is slow. Or I don't want to say slow, but they're not going to be like all men forward. They're going to play more of a defensive game. A lot of their games you'll see they'll be 1-0, 0-0, those kind of scores. They're not fun to watch. On the other hand, you have Colombia and Nigeria who are just balls to the wall 24/7. They're going to put all men forward. They might give up 2 goals, but they're going to score 7. Yeah, that's just how they are. That's how they're set up. That's what they want to do. They want a fast pace. But I do like Poland just from the standpoint that they are big on the back end. I think they can hold off teams like Colombia and Nigeria. I'll take Poland as a small upset over Colombia to win Group H. Colombia, it will be my second place team. I will say this. Again, we were talking about long shots. Japan will be the most skilled. They will be the most together, camaraderie. They'll have the best camaraderie. They'll have the best motion. They will be the most skilled team on the field in every game that they play. In every game that they play. The issue with them is the fact that they just lack talent, right? They just are not very talented. There's not really another way to slice it. They will be, again, the most skilled. Their passing will be crisp. Their motion in general, their field sense, everything will be top notch. They just lack talent. Now, with that being said, sometimes camaraderie can go a long way. If you want a team to upset a group, take Japan. They were, as of yesterday, 13-1 to win the group. 13-1. Put $10 on them, $10 to win $130. Yes, please, on a team that will absolutely be the most skilled in every game that they play. Again, Japan, I don't have them in my top 2. But if perhaps you want to take a risk on a wide open group, Japan 13-1, definitely mark that down. Now, as I said, Belgium is my team to beat. Who do I think they play? I think Spain is on a mission. They are young. They are super talented. They are probably the best team with their old coach. Let's say this. They're probably the best team with their old coach. But now, if you look at it as a whole, they are the most talented team in the entire World Cup. I do believe they get to the finals. I do believe they will play Belgium. And I believe Belgium will prevail in penalties, shootout, to win the World Cup. Belgium over Spain to win the World Cup. You hear it here first. Gino G, Prediction of the World Cup, Belgium over Spain. Lastly, the Belmont Stakes and what is one of the most exciting things that you can possibly see. Justify now became the 13th Triple Crown winner, taking down the Belmont Stakes in the field of 10. I will say this. There's a lot of controversy over Restoring Hope. Restoring Hope with Florent Geroux in the irons broke awkwardly. I don't want to say broke bad, but broke awkwardly, and then was completely rushed to the front. Took out the outside 3 horses, which is where the controversy comes in. We knew, as we said on our previous podcast, if Justify was going to win the Belmont Stakes, he needed to go wire to wire. He needed to go to the lead and no one pressure him. But we knew that the outside horse, Noble Indy, would be the one to pressure him and keep him pinned on the rail. That did not happen, as Restoring Hope, who just happens to be trained by Bob Baffert. Bob Baffert trainee, Restoring Hope, takes out the other speed that's supposed to be pinning Justify in. Now, there's a lot of people that are out there on Twitter saying, wait. We didn't get a true, quote-unquote, Triple Crown winner because of this situation.
I didn't even hear about this.
Yeah. So, Justify, who was the 1 hole, as we know, was supposed to get pressure from the 9 hole, Noble Indy. Right? Noble Indy, it was known, Rapoli, right? Pletcher trainee was supposed to go out to the lead 100% and pin Justify on the rail. And basically what this was to do is to set up Vino Rosso, who's going to come from far back, to sweep around, pressure him, constantly pushing the pace so Vino Rosso can make a wide move, a loop and, win, and everybody, woo, Justify, no Triple Crown. But what ended up happening is Baffert had another horse entered in the race. This is theoretically. I mean, theoretically, I don't want to say that this is exactly how it was supposed to be. But theoretically, Restoring Hope goes out, takes out the outside 3. And now Justify's on the lead all by himself. And that's exactly what happened.
Is this what we're calling a rabbit?
Well, yes. So Noble Indy was a rabbit for Vino Rosso.
Okay.
Restoring Hope wasn't necessarily a rabbit for Justify. He was almost a block.
Okay.
Restoring Hope was just out there hey, let's block out Noble Indy so he can't be a rabbit. Right? So Justify would just be all by himself. And that's what ended up happening. Justify goes out by himself, crushes the field. Now, as we said on our previous podcast as well, at what I believe is time 8:40 in our previous podcast, we said a long shot that you have to take a look at. Although we will get so much hell for it, you have to look at Gronkowski. Gronkowski was bred for that race. This was it for him. He had a minor injury and wasn't able to run in Kentucky. Gets all the way healthy, runs in probably what's the most fitted race for him, and he runs second. Justify over Gronkowski, 1-6 exacta, ended up paying like $89.80. So Justify, congratulations to Bob Baffert. Congratulations to Mike Smith, who actually gets to win the Triple Crown. He's had a couple of shots at it before, wasn't able to convert. Congratulations to them. Congratulations to all the connections of Justify. Justify, as we now know, his breeding rights was sold for $60 million prior to the Belmont Stakes. With the win of the Belmont Stakes now being a Triple Crown winner, his breeding has now gone up to $75 million. Now, the question remains, is Justify ever going to run again?
What do they do to Pharaoh?
So, Pharaoh did run, right? He ended up winning the Dubai. Then ended up coming here, running at Keeneland, winning the Breeders' Cup Classic. Now, I think for now, setting a new standard at $75 million, he's now not with quote-unquote inflation, but for the actual purchase breeding rights, he's now number 1, highest ever. $75 million is highest ever. To me, I'm going to be hard-pressed to see Windstar Farm go up to Coolmore and say, hey, we still want to run. They said, we paid $75 million. I don't think so. So there is this debate of, is Justify going to run? All the connections say that they are going to run at some point. Like I said, I'm going to be hard pressed to say that he is going to run. $75 million.
Why not?
Why wouldn't he run?
Why not?
I think everybody, as a quote unquote fan, you want to see him run.
Yeah. Was it like 7, 8 races?
Six races.
6 his whole life?
His whole career, and obviously all as a 3-year-old, all in a 114-day span of time. As a fan, you want to see him run, especially against older horses.
That's what I liked about American Pharaoh's run.
Right. So it's one of those things where you want to be a part of, okay, so we saw him as a 3-year-old. Now you see him against older horses for the first time in stakes races like the Breeders' Cup. Is he really the real deal? Like, is this it? Is this the real deal? But this is the issue that, as fans, that we have, where it's like, oh, he's undefeated and he's Triple Crown winner, so let's retire.
Let's not ruin that.
Right? It's like,
tarnish it.
Oh no, we can't let him we can't let him lose. So if perhaps he does run, he will face a weak group in some random stakes race, probably at Saratoga, not the Traverse. I don't think he'll go to the Traverse, but perhaps the Penn. So he'll face a weaker field, win that, and then they'll have the option of going to the Breeders' Cup Classic. And if he goes to the Breeders' Cup Classic, I had a conversation with David Levitch, Paddock Prince, also the Staggy. We had a conversation that if perhaps he goes to the Breeders' Cup Classic, he needs to improve. If he doesn't improve, he's going to run 5th. And I think that would be devastating to just the general public, right? We want to see this undefeated horse. We want to put him on a pedestal. It's going to take a lot for him to get to the level of the top horses that are going to be running in the Classic. And speaking of the Classic, there's a win and get in to the Breeders' Cup Classic this Saturday from Churchill Downs, that being the Stephen Foster. There'll be a couple of horses in there. Patch, who's come back, Irish Warcry, both of those have come back to win. There's going to be a heavy favorite in there, and we'll get to all of that, obviously, on another podcast, so I don't want to get too in deep. Axemen on Saturday will be running in the Matt Wynn, so check out for those. But yes, when it comes to Justify, first and foremost, as we said, congratulations just on winning the Triple Crown. It's such a feat to do. Win 3 races in a short span of time like that. It's just an amazing feat for one. Hopefully we get to see him run again. If perhaps we don't get to see him run, if you come out to Churchill Downs this Saturday, he's going to do a walk, just as American Pharoah did when he won the Triple Crown. He's going to walk from the barn all the way into the paddock, do his little loop-de-loop, and then head back to the barn. But yes, Justify, I would love to see him run again, especially against older horses. Maybe we get that opportunity. Maybe we don't. Either way, congratulations to them. So overall, it's a great day of sports starting today. Like I said, we got World Cup. Actually, as this is playing right now, most likely the opening ceremony is going on. First game in the World Cup is Russia versus Saudi Arabia at 11 a.m. Eastern time today, which is probably already starting as you're listening to this as well. PGA US Open going on. We like Brandt Snedeker. We like Henrik Stenson, Justin Rose, Brooks Koepka. Those are a couple of choices. And then lastly, Saturday. Again, if you're on the email route, you'll get Thursday and Friday, but Saturday, night racing from Churchill Downs. Stephen Foster night, one of the biggest nights at Churchill Downs. Win and get in to the Breeders' Cup Classic. Irish Warcry, Patch will be there running in the Stephen Foster, so we're excited for that. I hope everybody stays with us, and I hope they have a wonderful Thursday. Thank you. If you all have any questions when it comes to the show, we would love more than anything to answer those here on the show. You can email us, myself at GinoG@ontheswitch.com. You can email Travis at travis@ontheswitch.com. You can also send us a message, post on our Twitter at ontheswitch1 on Twitter as well. I will say, if you haven't already, go to iTunes, subscribe to us, give us 5 stars. We would love to hear from you and all your suggestions. Thanks again, everybody. We love you all.
On the Switch.